All right, so there's a picture Oleksandr Usyk released on his Instagram page. People told me to check it out. They're saying Oleksandr Usyk looks massive in it, and a lot of people are speculating that Oleksandr Usyk for this Tyson Fury rematch. I mean, we talk about Tyson Fury coming in heavy. A lot of people are actually speculating now that Oleksandr Usyk is actually going to come in heavy, heavy by his standards anyway. Not the heavier man, that would be almost impossible, but heavy by his standards, they reckon maybe in the 230s. Now, I went on and I looked at the picture, and I, he, to me, does he look a little bit bigger? I mean, slightly, but I wouldn't go as far as saying he's maybe in the 230s. Now, I could be wrong, of course. Oleksandr Usyk, when he weighed in for the Tyson Fury first fight, Michael Buffer mistakenly said that Oleksandr Usyk came in, I think it was 232, 233. So when that happened, me and a lot of other people, I mean, genuinely, we did kind of lose our minds a little bit. We were kind of like, what the hell? Because it was so out of the blue. And Oleksandr Usyk, since he moved up to heavyweight, he's been pretty much like clockwork. I mean, I think he was in the two teens, if I'm not mistaken, for his first fight against Witherspoon. And then I think he got into the 220s. And he's kind of stayed in the low 220s. And I'm very much a believer of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's working and you're finding it's successful for you, keep doing it. When you start changing something, it's like chefs will always tell you, if this is the recipe that's been passed down through generations, that's working. When you start adding, you end up taking away. And it's true. It's true. So I always looked at someone like Oleksandr Usyk and I said, you know what, he's done it right. He's not gone from cruiserweight to heavyweight, and instead of just not cutting, which is what I pretty much think he does, I think he weighs a similar amount of what he was doing, maybe a little bit heavier than he was when he was fighting at cruiserweight. The difference is he's just not cutting down the 15 or so pounds. And I said, if you do that, you retain your strength, you keep your speed, mobility, your coordination, everything really. I mean, it's a big benefit. When you start going and going ham at heavyweight and thinking, right, well, I'm 220 naturally, I need to be 240. To me, that just doesn't work. And I've said that about heavyweights like Joseph Parker, who they're not cruiserweights, they were never cruiserweights, but they had an optimum weight, which would have been in the kind of 230s. And you see Parker 8-9 years ago, night and day, he looked a lot better. Certainly back then, a lot faster, more explosive than he does now. It's not to say he looks bad now, but you get what I mean. He's packed on a lot of weight. And for me, it's done nothing, really. Does he take a better shot? No. Is he hitting any harder? No. Is he any faster? No, etc., etc., etc. For certain fighters, it just doesn't do anything. And again, with cruiserweights moved up to heavyweights, I think that I know Gassiev, when he first moved up, he went quite significantly heavy. I think he was in the 230s or something like that. Lawrence Okoli, 260 last time out, and he looked just bizarre. I mean, he wasn't in there with much, but it just looked bizarre. This to me is, if you want to have a good run of heavyweight, I think it's detrimental. I think you're never going to be able to match these guys physically, strength for strength. Your kind of advantage is that you're faster, you're more mobile, you've got better stamina, higher punch output. That's all going to go to waste if you're packing on an unnecessary amount of weight. And Oleksandr Usyk is a very smart fighter. Very, very smart fighter. Very smart in and outside the ring. And he knows that. So I'd be very surprised if he comes in. Did I think he looked heavier? I would say probably a little bit, but nothing crazy. You have people saying he looks 235. I don't know. No, he doesn't look that heavy. But would I rule out him maybe being 225, 226? No, I wouldn't necessarily rule that out. And even then, I still think that's a weight that for me would be okay. If you're talking a couple of pounds, if he weighed 222 last fight, he's 226. That to me is not a problem. But if you're packing on an extra 10 pounds unnecessarily, then it's problematic. Deontay Wilder is a naturally skinny, athletic, very, gangly kind of heavyweight. I think Steve Bunce many years ago, long before he was champion, they showed highlights of one of his knockout wins, and he compared him to like a marathon runner, couldn't get over how light he was. I think he was in the two teens in that fight. That's always been Deontay Wilder. When he fought Fury, in particularly the trilogy fight, 238, I believe he weighed. And look, yeah, he had his success. He dropped Fury very heavily in that fight, but he was absolutely blown like crazy after about a round. And if you want my honest opinion on that Wilder trilogy fight, I think that if Wilder had weighed in his natural weight, there's actually, because Fury was not at his best in that fight. He didn't train as he should have. He didn't take it as serious. And I think if you had a Wilder in the two teens, I'm not necessarily saying he would have won, but I think there was a chance he could have potentially done it. I would have given him a better chance of winning than I did when he was 238. So with Oleksandr Usyk, he is looking a little bit heavier, yes. I wouldn't be surprised necessarily if he weighs in heavier than he did for the last fight, but if he's in the 230s, and you know, and Michael Buffer, and it was a mistake, obviously. He announced the weights mistakenly. Usyk was 223 as opposed to, I think it was 233. When they did announce it as him being that weight, the heavier weight, I was like, oh God, you know, I mean, this isn't good. That this is many things and good isn't one of them. It made me really reassess my decision on that fight. And if both fighters weigh in and they're both heavy, you know, Fury's in the 280s, Usyk's in the 230s, I might look at that and say, well, you're kind of, you know, they're kind of cancelling each other out. But let's say Fury is a good 272, 273, which I think is a kind of happy medium for Tyson Fury. I think that's a good in-between weight. I think that's actually a very good weight for him. And Usyk is in the 230s. I genuinely, I'd have to think and reassess it. I would. Because I've never seen Oleksandr Usyk I've never seen him north of 225, much less 230. So, you know, I don't know what he'd be like. And you say, well, you know, it's a big jump for someone who is not naturally that weight to begin with. You know, it's not like going from, say, super middle to middle, or that's actually going down. But you know what I mean? It's not like from going, say, like 154, like what Charlo did. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you're the smaller man, but, you know, it's not as significant as at heavyweight. You know, you're essentially fighting at your walk-around weight. So you're not packing on anything unnecessarily. This would be altogether different. So I hope Oleksandr Usyk is not packing on any weight. I mean, it's happened before where images of Usyk have emerged and the public have gone bananas. Oh, look at him, he's so big, he's massive. And you're like, well, he doesn't look any really different than how he is. No, he's massive. He's going to weigh this and he's going to weigh, how much did he weigh? Same as last fight. So I'm not going to jump the gun and say, oh my God, Oleksandr Usyk is 230 pounds. Oh my God, what the hell? He looks a little bit heavier, yes, definitely. I can see that, but I'm not going to go and say he's going to be in the 230s or anything like that. Now, if he is, on weigh-in day, I don't know, and it's going to be interesting to see what Tyson Fury weighs. I'll probably do a separate video on both guys, what they should be weighing. But I've always said, I remember a friend of mine years ago said that he hates heavyweight weigh-ins. And I said, why? Oh, well, they haven't cut any weight. I'm like, yeah, but that's the whole point of why we like watching heavyweights weigh in. Because there's a good weight for the heavyweight to be, there's a bad weight. And you want to see, are they on the good side of that or the bad side of that? When you're watching two guys weigh in and they both look like they've, you know, spent the night on God knows what. That's how bad, that's how drained they look. Oh, well, they both made weight. They both look absolutely terrible. But they both made weight. There's no, what that? When Michael Buffer mistakenly shouted Oleksandr Usyk's weight out as in the 230s, we all went nuts. That's because heavyweight weigh-ins are different. There's just some sort of intrigue about them. So I'll be keeping my eyes peeled to this weigh-in. I certainly will. It will be, well, we're 8 days away from the weigh-in. So I'll be keeping my eyes peeled. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what both guys weigh in. I'd be surprised if Usyk, if he is heavier, he'll be much heavier. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. Next stop, 22K. Peace.